You guys are about to make your very own shofars. Raise your hand if you ever made a shofar before. You made? I do so many shofars I don't remember. Who are you?
You did my class in 87.
Okay, yes, okay. So, what was that? Okay, so we're going to teach you how to make a shofar. But there's some interesting things I'd like to share with you before we make the shofar. Because when we make the shofar, we want to know where it comes from. What animals are good to use their horns for shofars, what animals are not good. So we'll explore a little bit, about 20-25 minutes. And after the 25 minutes exploring our different shofars here, we're going to show you how you're going to make your own shofar. You're going to get your shofar and you're going to be able to make your own shofar, okay? So, this morning, I'm sure you guys heard shofar. Did you guys hear shofar this morning?
Yeah.
You did? Does it sound similar to this? No? Why? This looks like a shofar to me.
Yeah, but it's plastic.
What's wrong with the shofar?
Plastic.
Oh, plastic. So could we make a shofar from plastic?
No.
No. Very good. So where does the shofar come from? Raise your hand if you know where the shofar comes from. Yeah?
The horn.
The horn. Excellent. Good answer. What animal? Anybody know the name of the animal? Yeah? A ram. Excellent. A ram is a kosher animal or not a kosher animal?
Kosher.
Very good. Now, are there other animals that we could use their horns for a shofar besides a ram?
A moose. Yes.
Raise your hand, yeah? What do you say?
Yeah, there's also these deer that have very long horns.
Deer. Could we use it's not really a horn, but could we use those things on the deer's head for a shofar?
But not those antlers.
Could we use that for a shofar?
No!
We can't really use it for a shofar. So let's see, what is the rule? How do we know which animals are good to use for a shofar, which is not? Number one, what does the animal need to be? Yes. Number one, it needs to be kosher. How do we know if an animal's kosher? Do you know? Has split hooves, exactly, and yeah? Torah says, but it has two signs. One has its split hooves, it means the feet are split, and the other sign, it chews its cud, that means it eats its food and it swallows. So any animal which is kosher, that has horns, we can use for a shofar. Somebody just mentioned to me a deer. Is a deer kosher?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
A deer is kosher. Guys, do you recognize any of these animals as a deer behind me?
Yeah.
Which one's the deer? Which one? This one?
Yeah.
What does it say underneath? Oh, it's a buck. It's from the same family as a deer, so yes, you're right. But that's not the deer I was looking for. Something else right behind me?
But I was...
Right here. Anybody know what this is? It's a white-tailed deer. And they are kosher. I want to take those things on the head. Could I use that for a shofar?
Yeah.
Yes? No?
No.
No, why not? What's wrong with that? It's not a what? We could use other animals. We said before we could use any animal that is kosher as long as it has a horn. What is on the head? What is that thing called? Is that a horn?
No, it's called an antler.
An antler. Very good. A horn in Hebrew is called a shofar. An antler is called a karen. It's a different thing. It's not a shofar. The difference between an antler and a shofar is a very big difference. A shofar is hollow inside, exactly. Is an antler hollow? No, an antler is a solid bone, and you cannot blow a solid bone. One of the ways we know that an antler, some of the ways that we know what is an antler, what is a shofar, by looking at the animal. Number one, if you see that it has quite a few branches, you know that it's an antler, not a shofar. The other way to know, sometimes you can have one long antler without any branches. The way to know is if you see, when it comes wintertime, the animal sheds its antlers, the antlers fall off. If the antlers fall off and it grows back again, that means it's an antler. If it's a horn and the animal loses its horn, the only way it's going to lose its horn is if it gets into a fight with another animal and the other animal breaks their horn, it's never going to grow back. The animal's going to stay without a horn. So that's one way we know what's an antler, what's a horn. So there are a few reasons why we blow the shofars. We're going to show you some different shofars. We are going to make shofars not from a ram. We're going to make shofars from a goat. Is goat kosher?
Yeah.
Yes, goat is kosher. Now, I have here a beautiful shofar, shiny, black. Anybody know which animal this horn comes from? Raise your hand if you know where this horn comes from.
Cow.
It's from
An elephant.
not an elephant. This is not a tusk. What do you say?
That looks like one.
Not a giraffe? Nope.
A goat.
A water buffalo. Excellent. This is from a water buffalo. Are water buffaloes kosher?
Yeah.
Who said yeah? Yes, water buffaloes are kosher. Now, this is a horn. It looks like a horn. It's hollow. It's naturally shiny. Actually, it's quite nice. Have you ever seen somebody blow this kind of shofar in shul? No. Anybody know why? Yes?
Because it doesn't have hollow at the end.
Doesn't have hollow at the end. In fact, I'm going to show you a ram's horn. That's a ram's horn. Is it hollow on the other side?
Yeah.
No, it's only hollow on one side. Every shofar is only hollow on one side. We'll explain that soon. So it's a good answer. You're very observant, but that wasn't the answer I'm looking for. There's another reason why we don't use the shofar. This is because the buffalo comes from the same family as a cow. And many, many years ago, when the Jewish people were standing at Mount Sinai, at Har Sinai, and ready to accept the Torah, they were counting 40 days and 40 nights, and they made a mistake. They miscalculated their nights and days, and they thought that Moshe Rabbeinu was not coming off the mountain. What did they create? What did they make when they saw Moshe is not coming off the mountain? Yes?
A golden calf.
Golden calf. What is a golden calf? A baby? A baby cow, exactly. So because we made a golden calf, the Jewish people made a golden calf, which is one of the greatest sins. One of the greatest sins in Jewish history is to make a golden calf an idol. They made an idol. And because they used this cow for avodah zarah, for an idol, we don't want to use anything on the Rosh HaShana when we're asking for Hashem's forgiveness to remind Him of the golden calf. So we don't use any horn from a cow, from a buffalo, anything from the family of a cow. That's the reason why we don't use it, although it's a beautiful horn. I have here 2 horns from another animal. Anybody know where this is from? Nobody here? Yes? Which? A what? Not a ram, nope. Yeah? A goat. Not a goat. Yeah?
A giraffe?
Not a giraffe. Yeah?
Is it that?
Nope, it's not behind me.
A moose.
Not a moose. What do you say? Not elephant. It starts with a B.
Bull.
A bull, exactly. This is from a bull. Are bulls kosher?
Yeah.
Yes? No? I hear yes? No?
No.
Yes. What is a bull? A male or a female? A male cow, exactly. So a bull is a male cow. It's a kosher animal. Again, could we use these shofars?
No.
No, exactly, because it's from the family of a cow. Anything that comes from the cow cannot be used. I have over here a giraffe. Is a giraffe kosher?
Yes.
Yes. I'm sure you haven't seen giraffe meat in Sobeys.
Yeah, because you don't know.
Probably have the extinct species list.
But
But other than that, there's another problem. It has a very long neck.
You don't know where to shop.
We don't know where to shecht it. We don't know where to kill the animal, according to halacha. But if you notice, the giraffe does have horns. It's a kosher animal that has horns. Could we use those horns for a shofar? Yes? No? I hear both answers.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. Well, actually, we don't shecht animals for the sake of taking the shofar. You're not allowed to do that. That's cruel. If you happen to kill the animal happens to die, you can take the horns and use it for a shofar. So if you find a dead giraffe, we cannot use those horns for a shofar. Anybody know why we can't use those horns for a shofar?
they're too small.
Excellent answer. They're too small. So let's first talk about what is the smallest size shofar you could use in Rosh HaShana. Anybody know what is the smallest size shofar you're allowed to use in Rosh HaShana?
This big.
This big? How about smaller?
Much smaller.
This big.
This
This
big.
big? Yeah? How much? 3 tefachim smaller. Actually,
This big.
it has to be slightly larger than a tefach. In other words, it has to be slightly larger than your hand. The reason for that is because when you blow the shofar, the halacha says you have to hear the sound of the shofar without interruption. So as long as your hand is not interrupting the sound on the mouthpiece, In other words, it's not covering the mouthpiece. The shofar sticking out of your hand slightly. And as well, when the shofar sound comes out of the other end, it's coming directly out of the shofar, not traveling along your hands. That would be kosher. So it really depends. The size depends on the size of your hand. Somebody has a larger hand, will have to use a larger shofar. Somebody has a smaller hand, will have to use a smaller shofar. Could use a smaller shofar. So it's usually around a tefach, slightly larger than a tefach. That size. I actually have one here that is kosher, I made. Probably slightly larger than a tefach. Let's see if it works. That's a kosher shofar. There's another reason why, we can't use the giraffes. Sometimes giraffes have shofars which is large enough to put in your hand, and it'll be slightly bigger than your hand. If you look closely to the picture behind me, this is a giraffe. There's something there which disqualifies it from a shofar. Anybody could see something on the giraffe. That's the picture there of a real giraffe. Yeah?
Let's say that has
I can't hear it. What?
Let's say it has a bruise.
Has a bruise? No, not a bruise. Okay. Has something on the shofar. What does it have on the shofar? Look closely. Yeah?
Maybe dots or something.
Dots? No.
Skin.
Skin. Here. Any shofar that is kosher to use is as long as the shofar grows outside of the animal's skin. In a giraffe, the shofar is actually covered by the skin, covered by the hair. So if it's covered by the hair, it's disqualified to use as a shofar. We have a shofar here. Anybody know from which animal this is?
Snake.
Snake don't have horns as far as I know. Anybody?
One behind it.
Which one is it?
One behind it.
This one right here. Anybody know what this one is called?
A horn.
A K. It starts with a K.
Kangaroo?
No, not a kangaroo. So it's a kudu.
I've never heard of that.
And they have very large horns. And you generally see this shofar
In India.
in the community of Yemenites. Taimanim blow this kind of shofar. This is a Yemenite shofar. The reason why they blow it, because there's 10 reasons why we blow a shofar on Rosh HaShana. One is to crown Hashem as a king. One is to evoke us teshuvah, to return to Hashem. And one reason is to remind Hashem of Tekah b'shofar gadol l'cherutenu. In other words, to ask Hashem to bring Mashiach. And how do we know if Mashiach is going to come? What are we going to hear?
The shofar.
We're going to hear the sound of the Big Showfart. So the Yemenite Jews have a tradition of reminding Hashem on Rosh HaShana, every single Rosh HaShana, of His promise to bring Mashiach by blowing this big shofar. So this shofar is actually a kosher shofar. The kudu is a kosher animal. Let's hear if it makes a nice sound. Very powerful shofar. Anybody recognize where this one comes from? Right here. Anybody know which animal that is?
The goat.
Yeah?
Antelope.
It's from the family of an antelope. It's called a gensbach. Are antelopes kosher? Yes, antelopes are kosher. Did you ever see anybody use this kind of shofar for Rosh HaShana?
No.
No. Is it kosher?
Yes. No.
Yeah. No.
No. The skin covers it.
Well, this shofar is like, it's like a real Jewish shofar, because the answer it's kosher, but it's better not to use. Right? It's one of those. Why is it a kosher shofar? Because it comes from a kosher animal. It's not from the cow. But the problem is,
It's facing upward. It's upward.
what's the problem? If you look at the difference between
It
these
has
two
to face
shofars,
upward.
it has to face upwards. Exactly. One of the
You
reasons
have to
why.
blow it like this.
No.
One of the reasons why we blow the shofar is to remind us that our hearts and minds are to Hashem. When we blow the shofar, do we blow it this way?
No.
How about sideways?
No. Yes.
Upwards, exactly. So the idea is the shofar facing upwards to Hashem. Now this shofar is not facing upwards to
You have to
Hashem.
blow it like this.
You could technically blow it this way, upwards, which will be fine. But the shofar itself does not have that symbol of curve to Hashem. So it's better not to use it. If you're stuck and you have no other shofar, you could use it. It's a kosher shofar. But you tend to see nobody using this because we have lots of kosher shofars in the world. Every single shofar, when it grows on the animal's head, This is the way it grows on the head. This is the skull. The shofar is embedded. The shofar is embedded on the skull. Inside the shofar is a bone. Guys. Some kids can't hear. So this is a goat's horn, but the same applies to every single animal. If you look behind me, this is a ram. The ram's horns grow on the head as well in the same manner that there's bone. It's called cartilage. It's inside, and you have to remove the shofar from the head. It's not an easy task. So one of the ways to do it is to take the shofar and to boil it in special oil to loosen the bone from the shofar, and then you can pull the shofar off. If this shofar is really tight on the bone, it won't come off as... Oh, it does. It comes off. But when it's really... This one dried out a little, so that's why it gets a little bit loose. The second method is to leave it out in the sun, and it makes the bone shrivel up a little, and it becomes a little bit loose. So we've done that already with the shofars that you guys are going to get, because it's a really smelly process. The shofars that we're getting were cleaned already. The bones were taken out, and so we don't have to do that. So every shofar that we have is already prepared in one stage. In other words, we only have one hole. The second hole of the shofar is on this side, and that hole is made by us, by humans. How do we make the hole? So this part, you guys need to pay close attention, because this is what you guys are going to do. And you need to know what to do, because I won't be able to answer 100 kids at once what to do. So best to pay attention now to see how to make your shofar properly. So behind you, there's a long table. And on the long table, there are a couple things that you need to use. You can face me, you'll see it afterwards. You have a wire. You'll get your shofar. Adults, parents, and volunteers, please pay attention, because this is where the kids need help. The wire is going to be used to measure where the hollow part of the shofar ends. You see it's hollow right here? We need to know where to make the hole to meet up with the hollow part. So we use the wire. We stick in the wire into the shofar. We stick it in along the inside of the shofar. That's the inside. This is the spine. We measure always along the inside. This is where the hollow part of the shofar runs. It runs along the inside, not along the spine. So we push it in. Now there's shofar shaped in different shapes and sizes. This, for example, is all curved up, so if you find the shofar very curvy, you'll need to bend your wire according to the shofar. But in any case, you take the wire, you stick it all the way into the shofar. When it doesn't go anymore, again, remember it's on the inside, not on the outside. On the inside, not on the outside. You keep your finger at the other end, you pull it out. You put it at the other side of the shofar, the outside. And you take a piece of chalk, you'll see some chalk or crayons on the table, and you make a mark where your hollow part of the shofar ends. Your hollow part of the shofar ends right over there. Now what we need to do is create a hole. How do we create a hole? We need to do two things. Number one, you need to saw the shofar. So there are two ways you guys could you have two options how to saw your shofar. Either you can do it by hand yourself. You get a little bit more of a mitzvah of doing it yourself. We have hand saws on the table in the box in the back. And if you decide to do it yourself, I would recommend that you do it in partners. Two kids team up together. You alternate making shofar. So you start with one. So one of you hold the shofar at the end of the table. The other one saws the shofar. When you're done, you switch around, and the other one can saw the shofar as well. So this way, you're actually getting some sweat. The sweat is a mitzvah. After you saw your shofar, you need to drill a hole. For those of you who don't want to saw your shofar on your own, you can line up here. We have an electric saw. One of the volunteers are going to operate this electric saw. You line up in a single file line, and we'll help you saw the shofar. It'll be very quick. Once you're finished sawing your shofar, you will come up to the drilling station. The drilling station will be right here, which I'm going to be operating. I'm going to drill your shofar. Okay? The way we're going to drill the shofar is, you're going to hold the shofar. Here, hold the shofar like this. You'll hold it like that. I will hold it here. And together we will drill the shofar. Once I finish drilling your shofar, you can go to this table here. There is some shine on the table. You will be able to sand. There's some sandpaper as well on the other table. You sand your shofar a little bit to make it nice and smooth. If you don't want to sand, you don't have to. And then you take a paintbrush and you put a very thin layer of shine so it can dry in time for you to take home. If you put a thin layer, it'll take you about 10 minutes to dry. If you put a thick layer, it might take you an hour. So try to put a very thin layer of coat of shine. Once you are done, you're welcome to take home your shofar or let it dry. Thank you. Close your eyes. Close your eyes, Brady.
I got myself a Yemenite chauffeur. Beautiful. It's like a real challenger.
I am so happy that you got a real chauffeur. I'm not going to teach you how to
She gets nightmares when she sleeps during the day.
She gets back to relax.
I'm right here, Shayna. Come, Shayna, I'm painting it for you.
That's enough, because we haven't.
What's wrong? You want to paint it?
It's all done.
You want to try it?
I'll help you in a second if you feel, okay? Try to finish.
Is this the shellac for the show?
Yeah.
He said do a very light coat because it takes a long time to dry.
So we'll put it on the side to dry boy. Usually I'll help you in a second. That's enough, you could just spread it all over.
Let it dry now, okay?
And then take your brush.